Oh, it's training camp. Training camp tomorrow. We're coming.
Oh, I can't wait.
9D57 the game. Live. Hilton, Santa Clara tomorrow and Thursday. If you're going to be out there, stop by. See the roast. See Steiny and Goo. We'll be out there as well. But then we're going to come on back to the studio, do the show here. But while we're talking about Hilton, Santa Clara, every home game, that is the place to be for the public tailgate. Don't sit in traffic. Because before the game, after the game, you can come, enjoy beverages, get food at their own food truck. Open 3 hours pregame, an hour postgame, and admission is always free. Follow them on Instagram. You can get a sneak peek of what's coming in terms of events, food, everything else. What's coming? Us. We are heading to training camp just to see you, Matty Barrows, The Athletic. I don't care about any of this quarterback stuff. We're coming to see you.
Purdy, Bosa, Barrows. That's the triumvirate.
That's right.
And not in that order either.
I don't think I could compete in the thigh competition among those because Bosa's are famously huge, and they call Purdy like mini Bosa because his quads are developed. I've got little noodle legs. I'm going to stand out in that crowd.
First of all, don't undersell noodles. They're delicious. And secondly, Bosa's not going to be there tomorrow. You are, Matty. Isn't that right?
True. That's true. I guess, here it is. The difference between Bosa's thighs to Purdy's thighs are the same difference between Purdy's thighs to my thighs.
Perfect.
So, it's just symmetrical. It just fits.
Hey,
and can we put Javon Hargrave in there? Javon Hargrave? Because, my goodness, he makes Nick Bosa look like a Kenyan 10,000-meter runner.
Yeah, we should have a quad off. We should have a thigh off.
Seriously.
This could be like a sideshow at training camp. We could sell more tickets this way.
I'm in, man. I'm in. So anyway, we look forward to saying hi to you tomorrow. But beyond that, let's do something crazy and not start with a quarterback question since you already brought up Nick Bosa. Is there anything to be worried about for 49er fans?
Well, he's not showing up day one, it doesn't look like. It sounded just in listening to John Lynch, I don't have any details on what the holdup is. It doesn't sound as if this thing is in the offing. Now, it could accelerate really quickly, and he could get done by tomorrow. That's a possibility. But I might circle Sunday, which is the first padded practice, which is the first, fully physical, the first real practice of the football season. That doesn't come until Sunday. So that's sort of a symbolic start to training camp, a symbolic start to the season. That might be the day that they're really circling as far as finality to this deal. But from what Lynch said today, and he was very vague about it, didn't want to get into the details, it didn't sound as if they were very close right now.
Not close, but not overly concerned. And how much would the concern be for Brandon Ayuk and future contracts, depending on just how monster this deal turns out to be?
Yeah, I mean, we say that every time, though. I mean, going back to Jimmy Garoppolo back in 2018, and this is the team that signed him to what was then the highest contract in all of the NFL, certainly the highest for a quarterback, and then it went to George Kittle, and he had the highest contract for a tight end, and Fred Warner for a linebacker, and Trent Williams for an offensive tackle. The salary cap keeps going up every year, and the 49ers find more room to do this. I think it's a good question because at that stage you're talking about two very high-priced players at the same position. And the 49ers' track record with that, with the DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead deals, is that they weren't interested in doing that. So I think that becomes interesting when that comes up. Ayuk is signed for 2 more seasons, so I'm not sure when that's going to happen. But it'll be a question mark when it does. They certainly have 2 very motivated wide receivers this season. In alliance with all the other reasons to be optimistic about the 49ers is that Ayuk is kind of gunning to be one of the top receivers in the league, and Deebo Samuel seems motivated to rediscover his 2021 form. And if you have both those guys operating at those levels, I think it's the makings of something very special this season.
Yeah, I think we want to get to Debo here in a second, too. Matty Barrows, The Athletic, joining us here on Willard and Dibs. But let's jump right into this, Matt, because you were there, and I want to know if maybe I've got the wrong impression. But here's what I heard today, because we spent a whole summer with a lot of people thinking that there would be some sort of openness or who knows where it's going to go at the quarterback position. The 49ers came out today and clearly stated Brock Purdy is healthy. He's pretty much ready to go. That's our one. We don't necessarily know who our two is. We're going to bounce all around and check that out. And, oh, by the way, on that way out the door, we'd like to mention that we really love our four. He was amazing at OTAs. I'm trying to figure out, Matty, how I don't add all that up to say the 49ers are just not that into Trey Lance. Am I out of line here?
Well, I mean, the comment about Brandon Allen struck my ear as well. He was asked. Allen was mentioned in the question, but it did sound as if Shanahan, took the opportunity to say, "Wow, he really looked good in the spring. We definitely have to get Brandon Allen some reps this summer." And that was interesting because when you're getting Brandon Allen reps, and when Brock Purdy is getting the number one reps, that means that you're squeezing the reps for Trey Lance and for Sam Darnold. But two guys who really need the reps. So it'll be interesting to see where those snaps come, because it's not your father's training camp where they're practicing for 3 hours in the morning, then there's a lunch break, and it's another 3-hour practice in the afternoon. It's curtailed. I mean, there's not a lot of quarterback repetitions to go around, and I guarantee you, each of those guys is going to come away thinking, "Gee, I could use a few more reps in practice this summer." So, I mean, keeping track of that, who's getting which reps, who has the most reps, I think that's going to be one of the sort of sidelights to training camp this summer.
Does it behoove Kyle Shanahan and the staff to continue to build up Trey Lance and kind of wait to see what other shoe drops around the NFL as far as the quarterback position goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, I think that's what, sort of the luxury of having a Brandon Allen on your roster right now is that if you do get blown away by a trade offer for Trey Lance, and it's hard to see that happening, but if that did come down the pike, and then the 49ers have said time and time again that, they're willing to listen, as far as a trade offer on anyone, if that did happen, there's an injury somewhere else, if there's a team that really had Lance rated highly and back in 2021, if that were to happen, the 49ers theoretically would have I don't want to say the luxury, but the ability to trade him because they would still have three capable quarterbacks on the roster. So they do have the leeway to do that. Two of those guys, Sam Darnold and Brandon Allen, certainly don't have sterling records as starters, so there'd be some risk there. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if Trey Lance gets moved, it happens sometime early next off season. But like I said, this gives them the ability to do it if they're blown away by an offer.
Matt Barrows, The Athletic, been on the 49ers beat forever, and as training camp gets set to open, he joins us here on Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. So, Matty, getting back to Debo now, the motivation that he's expressed, I get it. Football players just want to play well. One of the 49er receivers has been paid. The other one hasn't. Maybe the Ayuk thing is still off in the distance a little bit, but is there almost a budding competition between the two? And is there the thought that the two of them could both be paid long-term by the 49ers?
I mean, I think that's absolutely possible. All of it kind of hinges on the structure of all these upcoming contracts. I think Debo is signed for, I want to say, 3 more seasons, and Brandon Ayuk is signed for 2 more seasons. So I do think that there's room for them to coexist for 2 more years. I mean, I think there is a rivalry. These two guys get along really well. I mean, you see them in the locker room interacting. They're the two alphas at that position. and they both want to be great. I mean, I think that's sort of the neat thing about those two players is that there is a lot of ego involved, and if it's kind of going in the right direction, that's going to lift both of them. But I think Deebo Samuel was definitely chagrined by his 2022 performance and embarrassed by it. And Kyle Shanahan basically said today that it wasn't the greatest season in the world, but it was still respectable numbers. I remember that initial Rams game when this team was still sort of trying to find its feet. I mean, Deebo Samuel took over that game, ran over, half a dozen Rams defenders, and basically got the 49ers rolling, into their midseason momentum, which took them through the playoffs. So it's not like he was a non-entity last year. He just didn't have nearly the same season as he did in 2021 when he was by far the team's MVP.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app.
Matt, as we get into camp here and we all want to focus on the quarterback and the Brandon Ayuk contract that's yet to be done or yet to be even pondered, what else are you looking at in terms of camp battles or other players maybe who we should keep an eye on as we head down there tomorrow?
Yeah, most of the starting spots I think are taken up. I mean, certainly the backup quarterback could be a huge one. Brock Purdy started 8 games last year, and he got hurt in 2 of them. So Purdy making it through 17 games, regular season games, I think is I don't know. I would say that the odds are against that happening. So whoever is number 2 is going to have a huge responsibility on this team. So that's one. Nick Bosa is the starter at one defensive end spot. I'm not sure we've circled his bookend at the other spot. It's going to be Drake Jackson or Cleveland Farrell. I mean, watching both of those guys, they're going to get more reps if Bosa doesn't practice early on. I think that's going to be interesting. But these backup spots, cornerback. Teams had a lot of injuries at cornerback. If they had one major injury there, then you're looking at a scenario where is it Ambry Thomas who steps into a starting role? Is it Samuel Womack, who looked good early last offseason but then sort of disappeared a little bit? Or is it Darrell Luter, a 5th-round pick that John Lynch was talking up today, got off to a really good start in OTAs and then got hurt, but it doesn't look like it'll be a season ender, that he'll come back sometime early in the season. So a lot of those backup spots on a team as talented as the 49ers could end up being pivotal if there are injuries.
Matt, great stuff. Hey, before you run, Brock Purdy in preseason games, like based on what they said today, are we seeing a normal complement for a starting quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to see less than you would for a guy who started 8 games in his career. It sounded as if, Kyle Shanahan's going to sort of make up for this lack of practice snaps for all of his QBs, having too many QBs, by playing Purdy just a little bit in these preseason games and playing the other guys quite a bit. So I think that'll be where he tries to make up some of the missing snaps from practice.
Matt, great stuff, man. And indeed we will. See you tomorrow for the thigh-off.
All right, I'll be there.
All right. Can't wait.
All right, bye.
See you then. There he is, Matty Barrows, The Athletic, with everything going on at 49ers camp.